Hi everyone, welcome back. Good morning. So we'll again get started with whatever we were doing with the Maven project that we have created, right? So that day we have started with creating a Maven project. We understood why we want to use a build tool like Maven when we have Java. If you use Java, there are problems. We understood what are those problems and how this Maven can help us, right? And there are some other problems that we noticed, but we didn't fix them. One such problem is this, right? So here this particular piece of chrome driver.exe is responsible for communication between your code and the browser, but this chrome driver.exe is very specific for each version of your browsers. For example, if you're running Chrome 86, okay, you have to download the Chrome driver of 86, okay, otherwise it won't work. So tomorrow if your version gets updated 87, then this has to be updated, okay, otherwise your test will fail. So this is very hard to maintain. Again, the problem is for Windows we have this, right? Chrome driver.exe. Suppose you are executing this in iOS, Mac OS, or Mac OS or Linux, then you need to use a different Chrome driver executable. For example, if you go here, Chrome driver download. So let's say I'm giving this, and this is the centralized repository where they are maintaining different versions. For example, if you notice for Chrome 97, you need to download this, right? So there is a big problem, right? Every time you get updated, you cannot keep updating this, right? So that's one problem. Suppose, for example, I'm trying to choose this. For each of these, right? For Linux, you have a different, Chrome driver. For Mac, you have different. For Windows, you have different. So in these cases, again, I need to write some logics here. For example, I need to find what is the US here or what is the OS here. So for that, you can find it using, let's say, some dot get property OS dot name. Okay, this particular stuff will give you what is this particular OS. Okay, I'm just storing this value in a string. Okay, this is OS name, and here again you need to write if OS name dot contains, okay, windows, okay, then I want to launch this, okay. Yeah, so otherwise you need to again write else if OS dot contains Linux, OS dot contains, okay, all these things you have to manage. That is very difficult, right? You cannot spend your time on these silly things, okay, when you have the important thing what you need to do is you need to automate stuff, right? So for that, this might not be really helpful or good approach, right? So what some guy have done is he has taken all this plane, and then what he has developed a jar file that can be used, okay, for you, so that you don't have to maintain all this. So what that guy has done, how we can add this now? Let's say you just go and search for Webdrivermanager Maven dependency, okay. Now you can click on this. This is the Maven centralized repository that, like I already told, and this has lot of versions. See, it is continuously improving. We started it on March 2015. So before March 2015, if you are using Selenium, you have no other way. You need to write if conditions. You need to maintain all these different browsers of Chrome versions and all. So your code is very clumsy and very difficult to maintain. But after this guy, okay, now slowly people started to use this, and then by this time everyone started to use this. Now the latest version is 5.0.3, and if you notice, you has the dependency. If you are using Java project, you have to download this particular jar file, and then you need to add it to your build path. But now we are using Maven, so our job is very easy. It will download it for us. Okay, let's go to the Maven project, and let's go to the pom.xml. And this is one dependency that we have already added. So inside the dependency stack, I'm adding one more dependency. This is the second dependency that I need for my project. So I have added this. Once you added this, you can click on Maven. You can click on this reload button, so that it downloads this latest version for you. Okay. So now if you notice, it's basically doing all this operation, downloading stuff. Once it's done, you can also see the downloaded stuff here. Okay, you expand these dependencies. So now we have two dependencies. One is QA Selenium, Boni Garcia WebDriver Manager. So Boni Garcia is the guy who created this dependency. Okay, So there are a lot of people who work for a community, and this guy has created this to save a lot of other people's work, and he has named this document as WebDriver Manager. So the current version is 5.0.3, and now if you notice, this dependency is now here. Okay, so we have added two external dependencies. Okay, so that's, you can also see here, or you can see here as well. Okay, good. Now each of these dependencies might use other dependencies. For example, this one dependency itself is downloading different jar files. Okay, so if you want to use Selenium, you need to download different of these jar files and put it in the path. For Boni Garcia, again, he internally uses different, okay, different dependencies like GitHub, Docker, or all those stuff, Google, JSON, all these things. But you don't have to download all these things. That's a reality. Okay, if you are using Java project, one jar file might not be enough. You might also need to add these jar files, because this guy needs these jar files. Okay, so these are all called as transitive dependencies. Okay, this particular dependency is what we need, but this dependency also need some other dependencies. We call it as transitive dependencies. And if you don't understand, that's completely fine. For now, just keep in mind, we need something to manage our drivers or executables. For that, we have now added this. Now once you reload this, everything is done. Now let's go to the project. You don't have to maintain all these lines of code anymore. So you don't have to maintain this. What this guy tells, hey, I have a class called as WebDriverManager. See, when I type WebDriverManager, this is coming from io.github.bonigarcia. So if you notice, io.github.bonigarcia. So this is the guy, this is the group ID. So this is the package from it coming from. So I'm pressing Control and space again. So WebDriverManager dot. So once you type dot, he's telling what you want to launch. Hey, there are a lot of options. What do you want to launch? I want a Chrome driver, because I want to launch a Chrome driver. Okay, dot setup. That's it. You don't need to maintain path. Last time someone was telling, hey, when I typed WebDriver WS capital, it was not working. Okay, there is no more problem like that. Okay, here you just mention with these three words and everything will be taken care. Okay, it will check what kind of OS it is, what kind of Chrome version you are using, everything. It will fetch automatically. Okay, and then it will try to download everything from this particular repository. So it will first find what is the OS, what is the version, and based on that version, it will download this Chrome driver for you. Okay, so you don't have to maintain anything. Okay, so now you can focus more on your code. Let's see whether it is launching the orange HR. First time, it may take little bit of time to do the analysis, to download the executable and all, but it will be very small time. Don't worry too much about it. So now if you notice, I didn't maintain anything. It actually launched the browser for me, and then it's trying to load the URL. So I'm closing the session for now, because we know it will launch the URL. We don't have much here. And now if we want to launch H or Firefox, okay, H driver dot setup. That's it. Okay, let's try to run it, because I don't have a Firefox. If you have a Firefox in your machine, Firefox browser in your machine, then you can also mention Firefox driver dot setup. Okay, in my machine I don't have Firefox installed, so I'm using just Chrome, and Edge comes by default, so I only have these two browsers in my machine. So I'm just trying to start it on the Edge driver. So it will try to check my Edge version. It will also try to download my Edge executable, and then it will try to launch it.
WebDriver driver equal to new Edge driver you have to put like 7th line.
Okay, very good. So it will fail. So once this is failing, so what do we have to do? For H driver, we have to use H driver. Sorry guys. Yeah. So now it will launch. So now it's basically tries to download all the stuff for you. It's taking a little bit of time. It may take for you as well, but it should launch. Let's wait. I have the H driver here, and I used H driver before as well. It was working, so it should work now as well. Okay, it's still not launching. So we have written a very simple piece of code, so there is no way it's not going to work. So yeah, so you notice it's actually launched. So it take a little bit of time because it needs to download the Chrome, H executable and then put it in the path and then it will launch. So this first time itself, it will take a little bit of time. Now if I stop this program again and if I try to run it again, this time it should not take a lot of time. You should see it has started it almost instantaneously, right? So that's it. So first time it will download the executable, put it in the path and do all the stuff. So it may take a little bit of time. After that, it won't take much time. Okay. My internet is really bad today, so I'm just not want to load the page now. Okay. So yeah, so this is how we can manage your executables. Okay.
There's some error log I saw there, SLF4J.
That is not an error log, just a warning. So what this guy, these libraries, some of the libraries that we used, they are telling, they have to use slf4j for logging purpose, but we didn't add that. You don't have to really worry about this. These are all just warnings. Okay, as long as your program is running, it's fine. Okay, we are not yet came for this log4j and all. So these are all just information, but they are just using red color to highlight it. Don't worry too much on that. Okay. So this is an info log. They are using WC3 protocol and all that, but you don't have to really worry about it as long your program is just running, right? Good. And yeah, so this is how we have to use Webdrivermanager in our code. What else we could use, right? So for example, see this URL. This URL is sitting in the code. Okay, tomorrow you want to run this in your dev environment. So the URL will be something like okay, just assume there is no such environment for now, but yeah, something like this. Okay, your dev URL or your site URL will be test hyphen open source hyphen something like this, right? So you want to run in different URLs. Suppose you put all of them here. Okay, if you put all of them here, you have to come and edit the code, which is what the problem is. So what you can maintain, you can maintain one simple class file that maintains all the strings. Okay, so that anyone can use that, and then if there is a change, you can make it there. Good. Instead of hard coding, we should not hard code. Okay, surface we could not, we should not hard code anything. If we hard code, it is very difficult to find it and replace. Find and replacing is difficult. Okay, is difficult. So never hard code. You can create a new class and then put it there. And then I failed to explain one thing, that is about the Maven folder structure. Okay, in the Java project that we used, okay, we have just a src folder. We wrote all our code there, that's fine. But in Maven project, we have src. Inside src there are two folders. So what is the use of these two folders? How these two folders can be helpful to us? Okay, previously, before automation, only the developers were doing the coding and all that. So what they did is, in the main folder, under src, inside the main folder, they used to keep all their development code. Okay, main folder is for maintaining the development code. Devel- Development code. Okay, this code will be shipped to production. So whatever they do, they deploy this into their production. Okay, this code is very important. So they will keep all the relevant code that needs to be shipped to the production. They keep it here. Okay, and then if they want to maintain some configurations and all that, they will put it in the src main resources. So src main Java is for development code. It will be shipped to production. Okay, and then you have main resources. In the resources, they will keep all the configuration files. Okay, they also have configuration files. Okay, they will maintain all that. Okay, like property files. We are not at there, but they will maintain all the configuration files, so that if there is a change tomorrow, they can simply change it in the property files, so that they don't have to compile the code and deploy it. Okay, without a downtime, they can deploy if there is a change only in the configuration files. And then what is the use of test Java? So there is a folder called test. Inside that test, there is a Java folder. What is the use of this? This is where they write their unit test. Okay, unit test means code written to verify whether the verify it was a code written to verify whether the methods they created are working fine. Okay. Okay, so this is called as unit test. Unit test means so suppose let's say they are creating a method called as add. Okay, static add, they have a method called as add that takes in int b. So they have developed a method like this. Okay, and this basically return void. Okay, is out. So instead of void, maybe I'll return this. Okay. So return a plus b. So what will they do? So once they have written method like this, they will try to validate. Okay, so they will write some unit test cases to validate it. How they will write it in the sense, let's say, they will, for example, I'm not doing these two now. Okay, I'm committing the entire code. Here, what they will do, they will call the add method, and then they will give as5, bs minus 3, and then they will try to validate. So int, I'll name it as sum. So they will, what they will do, they will do assertions. Okay, again, I haven't covered assertions yet, but imagine what they will do if sum equal to 2, then s out pass. Okay, something like this. Okay, so they will send different values to this, and then they will try to validate whether this method is working fine. So this is called as unit test. This is to make sure that their whatever the method they have created is working fine. Okay, they keep all these unit tests inside src test java. Okay, and whatever the, there is one more folder here that's hidden. So for example, new directory. So this is resources. So there is also src test resources folder, where they will keep all the files, all the config files needed to test the, so to test. Okay, needed to perform unit test. Okay, so for performing unit test also, they may need some configuration and all that. So they will maintain this in the src test resources. So while coding or while shipping the product to production, they will only copy the code from here. They will ignore these two. Okay, this is just for testing purpose, whether the code is working as intended or not. Okay, this particular piece is only shipped to production. Okay, so whatever the important code, they will write in the src main java. So this is very important. Now, in case of, this is for development, right? In case of now, in case of testing, automation testing, how you, because we also using the same project, and we need to know, we need to have a sound understanding on how we can use these folder structures. Okay, the reason, see, you can write it anywhere, but the convention that you need to follow, right? So that others also follow the same convention across the world. So if you are writing in some places, people might not understand that you are written here. Okay, so you need to keep right things at the right place. That's very important. So what we are going to do in src main java, so first we'll come from src test java. In the src test, we're going to write our automated test. So we are going to write all our automated tests. Okay, we are going to write here, and test resources. So whatever we are writing, driver dot find element, all those things, we are going to write it in the test java folder. That's why I have created this my first maven test inside the src test java. And also it is convention to end your class files with the test, because by seeing itself we can understand there is a test case inside this my first maven class. Okay, so that's the reason I have suffixed this with test. Good. Inside test resources, all config files, suppose you want to maintain your test data in excel sheet. Okay, all these things you can maintain in the src test resources folder. This will be helpful to run your automated test. Okay, this is the second one. Now, the same way, in the src main java and resources, anything that is apart from main java, anything that is not tests. Whatever you write in terms of test is alone here. Okay, anything that is not a test, you have to keep it in the SRC main Java. Okay, and most importantly, we are not going to use main resources. People don't use it predominantly. Okay, not used in test automation. Okay, they'll keep only in SRC test resources. They don't keep it in SRC main resources because we are not making any production shippable core. Our product is not going to be deployed in production and all. So this is most often ignored. Okay, yeah. So this is how it is. And now let's come back to the original thing what we are doing. Okay. So first we understood what is unit test and all that. So that's very important to understand. So now this is a test we have written, right? So we'll remove all this unnecessary stuff. Okay. The reason why I have explained this so far is now this is very, this is hard coded. So instead of maintaining this, previously what we have done, we have created a home page object and then put it there because that's belong to a page, right? So, but this URL is not related to any page. So I cannot keep it in any pages and all. So what I have to do, I have to go to the SRC main Java. I can directly create a class. Okay. I create a class. Let's say I'm creating a string constants. Okay. So because this is a class, okay, I'll come to this. What is this error message and all? So what I am doing, I will create a public static string URL equal to what is the URL here? So let's cut this, paste it here. Now you can go here and instead of all that, you can basically mention string constants dot URL. And now see, we are not hard coding this. Tomorrow, if there is a change, people can understand, okay, this guy will normally keep all these things in string constants class. So I will go and change this to dev here. Okay. So this is how they can go and change. Suppose they want to run it in different environment, they can run like this. Okay. Good. So this is how we can use this to work. Again, this is still telling, hey, you are directly creating inside SRC main Java, which is not a good practice because you need to group things together. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll create one more directory. Okay, called as constants, and then I'll drag this, put it here. Okay, and then click on refactor. So now there is a SRC main Java. Inside that there is constants. Okay, package or directory, whatever you want to call. See again, guys, whatever I mean as package is directory, actually directory. Okay, if I go to open in Explorer, so this is Selenium project, right? So SRC inside main, there's Java folder. Now we have created constants folder inside that. Inside that, I'm keeping this file. Okay, so these are all basically just packages or directories. Okay, now this is good. And yeah, so this is how we can refer your uh, string constants. Okay, wherever you're using some string constants, you can also maintain like this so that you can easily manage them. Now this is all done. Now we'll head back to the important concepts that we want to learn in Java. That is, you have Java. In Java, there is very important thing that is called as classes and objects. Okay, normally people will teach this first, but I am teaching now because I want to give you the taste of Selenium before I'm slowly trying to cover Java. So what is a class? It's a very tricky question and all to understand in Java. So Java is something that you have to feel after a very long time. Okay, it's not something that can be taught, but I'll try my level best so that you can understand what it is. Okay, now let me create one more thing. Let's say I'll close all these tabs. I don't need them. So for now I'm just creating a class here itself. Okay, so I'm creating something called as employee. Let's assume you are running a company. Okay, you are running a company. The company name is, let's say, ABCD. So ABCD is a company that is run by you, and you have a template. Okay, you are recruiting very fastly, and you have a template for employees. So every employee who joins you, you will assign a ID to them, right? So let's say you assign a ID to them, okay, and this ID will be an integer, right? So 1 2 3 4 3 5 6 7 whatever ID, right? And then they all will have their first name, okay. So these are some of the data that you collect before you recruit an employee, or after this employee joining your company, whatever. So they all have their last name as well, and they have some age, okay, they have some age or experience, whatever. And also I have something called as Shinkavani name, okay. So this is some of the very mandatory information that you collect, okay, from them, okay. Now the class acts like a the template, okay. So it acts like a template. So anyone who joins this company should have this, okay. Without this, I will not allow them to join my company, okay. So that's the beauty about it. Now let's try to go here, and then I'll create a new class that's called as class objects demo, and then I can also add test. So I'll add a main method here, okay. So now there is a class called as employee that has something like this, okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object for this employee, which means I'm going to create a object, okay, which means I'm going to create a new employee for this company, okay. There is a new company, new employee that is getting joined. So I need to create a particular ID for him, name for I just want to store that in the database, okay. That's what I'm going to do. So for that, what you have to do, so you need to tell employee what is the class name, and then what is his reference variable. For example, Amudan is a new guy who is joining this company, and then you have to just tell employee. So this is what we have written, right? Webdriver equal to new Chrome driver, something like that, 0, right? The same way I'm writing class name, reference variable, and then new employee. I'll explain what is this one by one, okay. So employee is again the class name, okay, and then Amudan here is the reference variable, okay. I'll tell you what is this, okay. And new employee, the entire thing is the object, okay. And new alone is called as a keyword in Java, which basically helps you to create a new instance, helps you to create a new object, create a new object. If you want to create a new object, you have to use new keyword. And employee, this is called as constructor in Java, which we'll learn. But for now, you just need to understand these three terms first. Okay. Okay. What is happening here? What is this? What is the statement that you are writing here? Okay. So what I'm telling, hey, previously we have used something like this. Okay. Int a equal to 5. Okay. The same way, you can also write string b equal to new string. Let's say something like this. Okay. Or previously we have only used something like this, right? C equal to testing order. Okay. This is basically same as this. Okay. Almost same. Okay. So if you want to create, so this left hand side is always your data type, your variable name, and the value. And the value is on the right hand side, right? The same way, left hand side is data type, what kind of type it is, and then this is the variable and this is the value, right, in the right hand side. The same way, employee is the data type, so it's a type, okay, but it's not a predefined type. It's you created, so we call it as custom type, okay, or reference type, okay. So this is left hand side indicates what kind of object it's going to be. So what kind of object it's going to be means it's going to be of employee type object, okay. Now, and what is this again? As I told, 5 is more often used. Then we will have a reference variable, so that anywhere you want to use 5, you can use here. The same way, this new employee is referenced by Amudan. Okay, so whenever I call someone, Amudan, then this particular employee will be called. Okay. So what happens in the memory? Okay. When you do write this line of code in the here, okay, what happens at the backend? Okay. So there is something called as memory. Okay. So this is the Java memory. Okay. Again, we'll come to what is heap memory, what is stack memory and all later, but there is a memory here. Okay. Now you are telling new employee, which means what this guy will do, it guy will reserve some space for you. Okay. Okay. So this is called as this is a new employee that we have created. Okay. This is new employee. Okay. Whatever we have created. This is the object that we have created so far. Okay. Once this object is created, this guy is referenced by Amudan. Okay. So every time someone is calling Amudan, this guy will go and operate this. Okay. So that's what it does is. So this new employee means when you call this new employee, it reserves a space for you in the memory. It reserves space for you. Okay. And then this will be referenced by Amudan. So for now, I created this reference variable, right? Now what I can do, Amudan dot, okay. So I can set my ID. So this guy is the first employee. So I am going to give him ID as 1. Okay. So for this Amudan, I want to also set, you know, age. Okay. So let's say my age is 28. Okay. And so sorry, I'm using string. So it should be integer. Okay. And so again, first name, last name, and all you can add whatever. Yeah. So the same way you can add. So this is how you can define all these things. So for this Amudan employee, I'm setting all these variables. Once you set, you can also print them out. So s out that let's say uh, Amudan that I want to get his age. I want to print his age and see what's happening. So let me remove all these things. So we have a very simple thing now. Let's try to run it. So I'm just trying to print the age alone. Okay, for now it's getting printed. So again, the class basically means it's a template. Okay, whatever the object you are going to create will have this template. For example, I want to add another employee. Let's say this employee name is Sachin, and this name can be anything. This is not a name. This is just a reference variable. For understanding, I'm using Sachin. Okay, you can use A, B, C, whatever you want. Okay, new employee. Once you're done with this, you can basically add Sachin dot first name is basically Sachin. Okay, same way Sachin dot last name called Tendulkar. Okay, the same way you can add all these things, and if you want to do a printout, s out. So Sachin dot last name. Okay, so let's try to run. Yeah, so this is how it is. So again, guys, so classes are basically is a template on which you can create multiple objects. The objects are here employees. Different employees you are creating are different objects. Okay, each objects will have a reference variable. Here the reference variable is Amudan. Here the reference variable is Sachin. So whenever you are calling Amudan, it means it will go and it will call this employee object. Okay, it knows. So whenever you wrote the second line of code, it will also write, let's say, when you write the second one, it also created a new space for Sachin, and it is also a new object. Okay, this is object 2. Okay, this is I'm gonna call it as object 2 now. Okay, this is referenced by Sachin. So whenever you are calling okay Sachin, so this is going to act on this. Okay, this guy is Sachin. Okay, okay, so that's how it is. So every time you create every time you call new and then the class name, it reserves some space for you and assign that to a variable. Guys, any doubts in this before I go on to explain few other things?
How it is able to access the class from another Java file?
Yeah, we are not yet there. See, any class can interact with any class provided you have given access modifiers. Okay, for example, I'm giving public here. Okay, it's still not time, but still, since you have asked, I'll explain this in a nutshell. Okay. So this one that is before this means public means this guy is accessible from any class. So this is a class file. This class file, whatever the stuff it is inside this is also public, which means it is accessible by anyone. Okay, by anyone. Okay, so they can access it until, if they have an employee reference. Okay, if it is private, I'm changing this to private. If it is private, means this particular thing is only accessed within this class. Okay, so this is a scope definer. Okay, this is called as access modifier, where you can define the scope of this particular variable. Okay, if you make this as a private, see, it is telling one problem. Okay, this also throwing error. What is throwing? Okay, if you notice, um see, create field id in employee, because it could not find, because there is already a field in employee called id, but it could not find it because you have make it as a private means that is only to that particular class. What it is telling, make it as a package private or protected. So what is this package private means, if so this particular class and this particular class, so package private means you don't mention anything. Okay, that is called as package private, which means if your class, whatever you are accessing this, so I'm trying to access this from class object demo test class, I'm trying to access employee class. So these two classes are basically present in the same package, so it can able to access it. Let's say I have a different package. Let's say I create a different package called as test, and I'll put all these guys inside that. Okay, I know that. Just do refactor. Okay, now I have put all these things there. Now I'll create one more folder. Okay, I'll create one more package called as test2, and I'll try to create a class here, demo test, whatever name you want. Okay, now I am trying to create an employee object. Okay, employee equal to new employee. Okay, now I am just trying to access employee dot id. So ID alone is not displayed here because this demo test is in different package, that is test2 package, but employee class is in test package. So it is not able to access it. So this package private means it will be only accessible within that particular package, that is inside test class, inside test package, you can access this from anywhere. Okay, so that's it. So I don't want to cover this in detail for just now, since you have asked, I have mentioned it. So as long as you keep public here, it can be accessed by anyone. Okay,
And we don't need to explicitly import the class, right?
yeah, if it is in the same package, you don't have to import it. Okay, in different package,
Okay. And same way we can have it in the main Java also, right? Like earlier you showed example, like we can create a class in the main Java and we can still use it in the test
yes,
Java.
yes, you can do it. You can do it. The only thing is it will be in the different package. So you have to make the things as public, then only it will be accessed. Okay, we are not yet there. We haven't covered the access modifier part yet. We will cover that in detail once we cover classes and objects. Okay, for now, if you want to create an object, you have to write like this line of code, and you need to understand this is the type. Okay, and this is employee is the reference, new employee, the whole thing is the object. Okay, whenever you go to an interview, they will write like this, and then they'll ask you to explain what this statement does, because if you understand this statement, almost 40% of your Java is done. Without this, there are still automation engineers who doesn't know this. That's a sad reality, because this will be my first interview question. Whenever I take any question, I'll first question will be this. Okay, but most probably they won't answer. So new employee is the object, new is the keyword, employee, this brackets is called as constructor. We are not at there, but yeah, this is the reference variable. Using the reference variable, you can change, modify anything of this particular object. So if I suppose, for example, I didn't do anything. Let's say I want to print the ID. Okay, employee dot, I didn't assign any value to this guy. So employee dot ID. So can anyone guess what will be the ID value? And for now, employee dot company name. Okay, can anyone guess what will be the output? Guys, I didn't assign any value in the last case.
0 and null.
Yes, 0 and null. Okay, let's try to run it and then see what's happening. So yeah, zeros and null. Why this employee class ID is now 0 and company name it is null? Okay, now let's go to the employee class and then see. Guys, I didn't assign any value to it. Okay, so whenever you are writing that first line of code, new employee, I told it reserves a space for you in the memory. While reserving the space for in the memory, it will go and check for all these variables that you have defined here, all the fields that you have defined here, and then it will check whether you have assigned any value to it. Okay, in terms of C or C++, if you're coming from C++ programming background, then you might know this, in C or C++, it will give you garbage values. But Java is very smart, or, with the help of constructor. So we have something called as constructor here. This constructor is responsible for assigning default values. So when you call this line of statement, not only it reserves a space for you, it also assigns default value to all the fields here. So if it is a int, then the default value will be 0. So in the case of age, also the default age will be 0. Okay, until you assign some value, this will remain as a 0. Okay, but for all other stuff, like for example, string is a reference type. Okay, string is also a class in Java. So if I click on this, it will take you to, so this is string is a public class string. So this is a class in Java. So string is not a primitive type. We'll come to that, but for now just assume for strings or any reference type, it will give you null. Null means it is null, it is void, it doesn't have anything, it is just vacuum. Okay, it's like that. Okay, suppose if you have something like a boolean, okay, public string, sorry, boolean is permanent employee. Okay, now anyone can tell me what will happen here. Employee dot is permanent employee. I want to print this value. What will be printed here?
False.
Okay, why false? Why not true?
Default value.
Yes. Okay, so that as someone pointed correctly, so by default, okay, all the booleans will get the default value of false. Okay, so if you want to change it, you have to assign some values and change it. Okay, so this is the rule. Okay, if it is an ID, you will get 0. If it is a boolean, you will get false. For all of the reference types, you will get null as the default values. So if you want to change it, you can change it. Okay, once this is done, I'm going to assign some values to this. So what I'm going to do, employee dot ID equal to 5, and employee dot company name equal, let's say, ABCD, and then employee dot is permanent equal to true. This guy is a permanent employee, so he's not a contractor. So again, we told boolean means true or false. You can either assign true or false, nothing more than that. So you can again copy paste this code, and then you can now try to run the test. Oh, sorry guys, there is a mistake here. I'm still getting used to my new keyboard. Yeah. So if you notice, first 0, null, false. After that, we assign some values, 5, ABCD and true. After that, it printed 5, ABCD and true. So this is how you can basically use classes, create an object for the classes, and using the reference variable, you can modify their properties. So each object, okay, each object that you create have their own own properties. Okay, they have their own name, they have their own company name, they have their own age and all that, right? And this we call it as fields or variables, okay, in Java. Okay, whatever they have is called as fields or variables. Okay, the same way if they do some work, right? So for example, each employee, uh, if you are an employee of my company, what you have to do, you have to work. Okay, you have to work for, let's say, 9 hours of, okay, if you want to work for 9 hours. Okay, good. Now I can go here. Now if you type employee dot, okay, there is a method that will be called as work. Okay, so I can call this method as well. So now if I try to run it, so you have to work for 9 hours. Okay, so yeah, so two things, each class will have two things. One is variables and another one is methods. Variables are something what they possess. Okay, here what they can do. Okay, let's also imagine a very simple example quickly. Okay, so these two things to understand variables and methods. Let's assume you have a class called as animal. Okay, you have a class called as animal. You want to create a new object for this. Okay, let me create a new object. Let's say animal dog equal to new animal. Okay, I want to create, sorry guys, I'll put it in. Okay, we don't have a class now, so I'm just using this. Okay, so now we have created an animal. I have just named it as a dog. So this dog can have a tail. Okay, dog dot color, or it can be of color. Okay, dog dot color. Okay, equal to basically black. Okay, it's a black color dog, and this dog, um, dog dot is native breed. Okay, is native breed. Okay, something like this. Okay, and is basically true. Okay, so you can define all these things. So what is this? These are all variables. So these are all things that this particular object possess. So what it can do, what are the methods it can have? So dog can basically bark. Okay, it can basically eat, right? Definitely. And dog can basically sleep as well, right? So these are all the things that it can do, right? What it can do is called methods, what it has is called as variables. Okay, yeah, that's all about it, guys. We will stop here. We will learn more about classes, objects, what is constructor, when to use constructor, what are the uses of constructor, and all that in detail. But for now, just understand what is class. Class is basically a template on which you can create multiple objects. All these objects will follow the template. So classes is like a blueprint. Okay, it's like a blueprint for all the objects you're going to create. And each object will have their own variables. Each objects will have their own methods. So for example, if we create multiple employees, we have created Amud an employee here and a Sachin employee. Both have their own first name and last name. So for example, Sachin has his own last name, Amudan has his own last name. They don't, uh, you know, mingle together. They are all separate. Okay, good. So yeah, that's all about it. If there is any more questions, I'll take it. Otherwise, we'll wrap the session today.
So Amut, and 24th line, you just write the method, right? How did you print that value? You
It
didn't
is,
any.
so what it'll do, it'll if I type employee.work, so it'll see, it'll go, if I click on this, it'll go here. Okay, it'll execute this. Okay, previously we used a static. We are not using static. I'll come to what is static and non-static next. But just for now, understand this employee. If you're creating an employee, you have to define what are the variables they have. It's not mandatory they need to have all the variables, and it's also not mandatory that need to have the methods. So but a class can have something, it can do something. Okay, one is called as variables, one is called as methods. I just told how you can access them. That's it. Apart from that, you don't have to worry too much now. Everything will be covered.
Okay.
Understand what's happening. Okay, when you are calling this line, you need to understand what is this, what is this, what is this, what is this. Constructor alone we will define next. Okay, but yeah, variables and methods are very important to understand. Everything in Java or any programming language, like you have Kotlin, you have TypeScript, all these are object oriented programming languages. In all these languages, these things remains common. Okay, what is a reference variable? Okay, what is class, what is an object? Everything remains common because these are all following object oriented principle. Even in C sharp, it's the same. Okay, yeah. So any other doubts?
Amutan on that.
Yeah.
So without creating a reference variable, previously you called like
Yeah.
class
Yeah.
name dot.
Yeah, that is called a static and non-static. We are not yet there, don't worry about it, I'll explain. Okay, so see, there are four things. Okay, public, I haven't explained much today. Someone asked the doubt, I explained in a very small detail what is public. Okay, and then what is static and non-static. See here, you can add a static. Okay, sometimes you don't have to add static. When you can add static, when you don't have to add static, when you can call with class name. So for example, in one of the tests that we have written so far, uh, we we have just to use the class name and then the variable name. So if you notice, if I go here, I have a class, it's having a static variable of URL. I have just called it using class name, variable name. But here, when I try to access, I used employee reference dot variable name. What is the difference, right? That's what we're going to understand, right? I'm not yet there. Don't worry about it. Just think only about the stuff what I have thought now. And if you have any doubts, you can ask it. Otherwise, we are going to cover that in the upcoming sessions. Don't worry.